Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video day. Today, Houston Rockets beat the Miami Heat 102-98. Great win for the Houston Rockets. Ninth win in a row, 2015 on the road now. Unbelievable. Look, I'll say this. I think getting guys like Fred VanVleet and Jabari Smith Jr. back healthy has been so big for this Rockets team. We saw some really bad struggling basketball played from the February, just really the month of February, a little bit of the beginning of March for this Houston Rockets team, where they played a lot of bad basketball. And I thought that was mainly because of Fred VanVleet's absence, some other injuries. And look, even having Amin Thompson out these last couple games, the Rockets have still been dominant and have been good since the All-Star break. Really have been. So I'm really proud of the way the Rockets have been playing lately, and they're at their biggest winning streak of the season at 9, which they were already past. I mean, like, it's been a couple games now where they've won a game, and it's already been. I want to say when they won their 7th in a row, that was their largest of the year. It might have been 6th though. But great win for the Rockets, 102-98. Rockets improved to 46-25, and now have a 1.5 game lead on the Nuggets for the 2 seed. And I will note this, that the Nuggets are down by 6 points at the end of the third quarter to the Portland Trail Blazers without Nikola Jokic again. So that would go to 2. The Rockets would have a 2-game lead on the Nuggets if the Nuggets lose and the Blazers can continue to do a good job for the Rockets. So if the Blazers can win and the Nuggets lose, the Rockets will have a 2-game lead, and that could become a 3-game lead if the Rockets then beat the Heat Sunday. All right. So let's go over this game. Oh, one thing I do want to note before I start getting the stats. Rockets 46-25 now. I forgot to mention this the other night against Orlando when the Rockets beat the Magic. It slipped my mind. But the other night when the Rockets beat Orlando, it's the most wins they've had in a season since the 2019-20 season officially. I think we all knew they would probably get there. I mean, last year they did have 41 wins. So in this winning streak, in the middle of this winning streak, they did pass that. But, a couple games ago against the Magic, on Wednesday, the Rockets did pass the most wins they've had in a season since 2019-20 season. Now, look, I'll say this Rockets team, yes, they have 2 more wins than the 2019-20 Rockets did in the 46, with the 46-25 record this year, but that Rockets team, the Rockets, team in 2019-20 season had a 44-28 record, only played 72 games. So, who knows what their record would have been if they would have played a full 82 games. But the Rockets at the same time, they'll have to finish 8-3 in the final 11 games to do this, but if they finish 8-3 in the final 11 games, they will end up having the most wins in a season since the 2017-18 season, the year they won 65 games. That next year in the 2018-19 season, which started off really rough for that Rockets team. I mean, if you guys remember that 2018-19 season, the Rockets were like the 15th seed for the first couple weeks of the season. It was really bad to start off that year, but they were able to bounce back that year and ended up being the 4th seed in the 2018-19 season. And that year they had, I think it was 54 wins. 53 wins. So we'll see if the Rockets can beat that. I don't know if they will. I honestly could see the Rockets getting right at 53 potentially, or 52 wins, which would mean they would finish the season with a 6-5 record or a 7-4 record, which I think I'd be fine with as a Rockets fan. I think 7-4 record to finish the season, getting 53 wins would probably be realistic for the Houston Rockets. But 102-98 is the final score. Let's go over some stats. All right, Fred VanVleet was amazing tonight. 37 points with 13 for 17, shooting 9 for 11 from 3. Amazing, one of his best games of the season. Amin Thompson, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 steals. Unbelievable. 1 block, 8 for 14. Look, I'm going to be honest. I was not in support of Amin Thompson coming back tonight. I really wasn't. I'm going to tell you guys why. And I'm glad he did, because, and he played better than Tyler Hero tonight. 8 points and 4 assists for 3 rebounds. So what do you guys say now, Heat fans? I'm glad he got to show off like this. I really am. But honestly, I don't think about stuff like that. I think about the longevity of this team and not, Amen Thompson getting some revenge on the Heat. What I wanted to see is the Rockets have a big game that is very, very huge for the Houston Rockets standings on Sunday against the Nuggets. And, he made a joke of the Rockets and pointed out how important it is for them to have home court advantage, whether that's as a top 4 seed or being the 2 seed. And that game on Sunday is one of the most important games that the Houston Rockets will play in the final stretch of the last 11 games in Houston against Denver. And that's going to be one of the biggest games the Rockets play all year. And when Amen Thompson was announced to have him, out for 10 to 14 days, the 2-week period would be where Amen Thompson would be out. Exactly 2 weeks would be against that Denver game. I really wanted him to return against Denver because I wanted the Rockets to have him fully healthy in a game. And look, he might be fully healthy. I don't know, but I know they said it was going to take 10 days, 10 to 14 days for his injury to heal. Look, he didn't look banged up tonight. He had 7 steals, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 18 points. If that's him playing banged up, we've got a superstar on the horizon. So maybe he was fully healthy, but I was really preparing for the Rockets to have him sit out this game. And I honestly thought the Rockets could win this one without him. I guess not. They needed him in Thompson badly in this one, and I'm glad I'm wrong. Because I was feeling like, hey, the Rockets, they're playing a Heat team that's lost 9-10 games in a row. They can go get a win in Miami with how hot they're playing. Turns out they really, without Amen Thompson, they can go get a win in Miami. Turns out they really needed him tonight. But yeah, great game for Amen Thompson, and was a big part of the Rockets coming back from, a deficit in this one. So him and Fred were great tonight. 11 points for Dylan Brooks, 4 for 11, 1 for 7 from 3. 8 points for Alperen Şengün with 10 rebounds, 4 for 15. Jalen Green also was really bad. I mean, look, the Rockets did not have not much of a good night for this Rockets team outside of Amen Thompson and Fred VanVleet. Amen Thompson and Fred VanVleet had a little bit more than half the Rockets' points tonight. The Rockets scored 102, and Amen and Fred combined for 55. So more than half the Rockets' points came from Fred and Amen. There were only 2 other players in double figures for this Rockets team tonight outside of Amen and Fred, and that was Jabari Smith Jr. with 11 and Dylan Brooks with 11. So you had a total of 77 points scored between Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson, Fred VanVleet, and Jabari Smith. Then you go over the rest of the team of Alperen Şengün, Jalen Green, and Tari Eason, and Steven Adams, only 25 points. That's crazy. That's how quiet the Rockets were offensively tonight, and how good Amen Thompson and Fred VanVleet were, and a little bit of help from Dylan Brooks and Jabari Smith Jr. to not need guys like Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün. But let's be honest, Alperen Şengün or Jalen Green did not shoot very well at all. I mean, those 2 guys tonight combined for 7 for 28. They were both terrible, and that's why the Rockets relied a lot on Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, and Fred VanVleet in this game tonight, and that was huge. And if the Rockets didn't get that, they would have gotten blown out in this game tonight. And Jabari was good tonight as well, 3 for 4 from 3, 11 points, 6 rebounds. Tari had 7 points and 8 rebounds, 2 assists in 27 minutes, only shooting the ball 6 times, making 2. So, yeah, they should have. Honestly, I at times I have said in the past, Jalen and Alperen Şengün shouldn't be punished in games like Alperen Şengün getting punished the other night against Philadelphia was terrible. Should have never been benched. But on a night like this, where you had Tari and Jabari playing the way they would have played, if I was a coach, I'd be playing Jabari and Tari more than both Jalen and Alperen Şengün. Both Jalen and Alperen Şengün would be sitting on the bench, and Tari and Jabari would have been playing more tonight if I was the coach. With how good they were both playing, and but yeah, both guys helped the Rockets a lot in this game, and it's not like Jalen and Alp didn't do anything good tonight. It was just it was a bad night. That happens in this league though. Steven Adams had 4 points and 8 rebounds and 1 steal. And yeah, that was it. Andrew Wiggins, 30 points and 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 10 for 13, 2 for 4 from 3. 8 for 9 from the free throw line. He had a stretch in this game in 9 minutes, scored 20 points. Unbelievable for Andrew Wiggins. Aaron Wiggins has been balling for the Oklahoma City Thunder, so that's why I just, kind of froze there for a minute. He's had there have been a couple games recently where OKC, rests all their starters, and Aaron Wiggins just goes absolutely nuts. Bam Adebayo had 16 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He had a little bit of a collision with Ben Thompson in this game. I hope he's okay. 16 and 14 for Khalil Ware. Look, I got on, any Heat fans listening, I got on with a Heat guy who, I hate to get the podcast wrong off the top of my head. It's something like Heat Zone or something like that. And a really cool guy, got on, with him, and we talked about the Miami Heat during the offseason, and I think his name is Martell, if off the top of my head. And there's a group of guys that have this YouTube podcast, and he was so high on Khalil Ware, going into the regular season. And look, I kept telling him I don't know how much playing time he'll get on this team, but now that the Heat are starting to be for starters injured and got rid of Jimmy, and you have Jovic hurt, and Kevin Love is not playing as much as I thought he would be playing. Khalil Ware has gotten to show off for this Miami Heat team. I had 16 and 14 tonight, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 7 for 10. This Martell guy was very high on Miami with Khalil Ware, and he was right 100%. He's going to be such a stud for this Miami Heat team, and him and Bam as the future as the 5 and 4 in Miami. I can't right now outside of Tyler Hero, and Bam Adebayo and Khalil Ware. I know there are some solid young players in this team. I can't really find anything that positive to be about as a Miami Heat fan unless they add in some huge superstar to their team next year. Can you imagine if they traded for Kevin Durant? Had Khalil Ware with Bam and KD. Although I think if they traded for KD, they'd probably have to give up Khalil Ware, but I don't think that's something Miami would do. But I mean, I think having Ware and Adebayo, you're pretty lucky to have that as your future at the 4 and 5. But yeah, so give a shout out to this Heat team tonight. I know they're really struggling. I hope they can get out of it because, like I said, I mean, I had a fun time going on the Heat podcast, one of the Heat podcasts earlier this offseason, and I know that Miami fans don't deserve to see their team struggling. As a Rockets fan, saw what we went through for 4 years, 4 seasons. Whenever I see when I before when the Rockets were in the playoffs every year, when I saw a team that was struggling and was really bad for a while, I never thought to be feeling bad for that team. But ever since the Rockets had their bad years from 2020 to 2023. I'm not going to include last year's a bad year because the Rockets went 41-41. But ever since then, and now that the Rockets have started to feel, start to get out of that, last couple seasons especially, whenever I look at a team that's starting to sink, and the Miami Heat are one of those teams that is really starting to sink, have lost 10 and 11 in a row at this point, I feel bad for those fans. That's something I didn't feel before the Rockets had their bad rebuilding years. I don't feel like Miami's going into a rebuild. I feel like they're going into a reload. I feel like a rebuild is a long 4 to 5 year process, maybe even longer, while a reload is something like 2-3 years maybe. So we'll see. Great win for the Rockets, though. I'm proud of the Rockets with this win. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out. Go Rockets.